Okay, today is June the 2nd, 2016, and we're watching the Northeast Pacific Water Vapor Loop. And right now at 9:35 in the foothills of Los Angeles, we have a temperature of 72 degrees. The relative humidity is 48%. The barometer is reading 29.98, and the dew point is 41 degrees. And we had chemtrails in the afternoon today in the Los Angeles area over the foothills and all around the area. Mostly visible on sort of on the western horizon because of the what's happening right here. And but it was nowhere near as heavy chemtrailing as it was yesterday. So, but nonetheless, they were spraying today. This developing storm down here has been downgraded to 60% chance of hurricane formation in 2 days. Right there, they've been hitting this all day long with transmitter power. We can see the blast pattern right here on this area. We'll take a look at that. We have jet stream flow now moving into Washington and Oregon. We can see that this area of dry air, which has been set up by a transmitter all through here, is rerouting the jet stream. Yesterday we were looking at this jet stream. It was moving dead ending right about here. It was just stopped right about here because it was going to move straight into California, but they've got it rerouted now, and so this will move up into British Columbia. We can see all this moist weather moving in, and right over here we have another one of these electronic fences built in with a radar, a phased array radar, this narrow channel, and that will prevent this very large moisture field from moving in and mixing with this gigantic low pressure system spinning right over Texas. That's been flooding Texas all day long, and we can see the right angles, the geometric shapes on the core of that. We'll take a look at that up close here in a minute. Let's go and take a look at the, also we have this dry upper level low. We can see the transmitter right on top of that, not letting any moisture from anywhere get into this core. So that's basically a dry low. Perfect opportunity for rain. We can see the flow moving right towards California, but this is all being heavily chemtrailed. We can see all the chemtrails in this view right here, all through this entire area. Let's go take a look at the infrared loop, and we can see how effective the transmitter is here from maintaining separation of this system with what's moving in, moving east right here. We can see that there's nothing merging right there. Same thing here. We have that low spinning, this dry low. Nothing is getting in there to feed that low. And we do see some rotation down here, but all these little thunderstorms have been blown apart. We can see the blast pattern right there on the last 3 or 4 frames right there. Color changes, and then we just see right on the very northwest edge, we see the water vapor shooting out right there on the last frame. Okay, let's take a look next at the jet stream. And we can see that tonight we have flow right into British Columbia and Washington State and into Idaho and Montana. All right. Western U.S. water vapor loop. We can see a little closer what's happening. We can see the shapes on the core of this storm right over Texas, this low pressure system. Right there. If they wanted to, they could blow that system apart. They've allowed that to do what it's doing. Look what's happening over here. This is the look at it over here. We have an upper level low right over here, and they've got a transmitter right on top of that. They're maintaining plenty of power. This is a dry low, but look what they're doing over here. They're putting on a show. It looks like they're trying to beat this thing down, but in fact, they're just hitting it with pulsing it with power, and they're allowing this thing to flood Texas. That's what's happening here. It's very obvious. This is being allowed to flood Texas. This system right here. If they wanted to, they'd just turn the power up, like what we're seeing right here. This is a dry upper low. They've got it completely blockaded. The jet stream can't get in there. Forget it. It's not going to happen. But over here, they've got this thing sort of parked right over Texas, and they're putting on a show. They're, we're talking about the geometric shapes, and it looks like they're fighting a battle here. But in fact, they're not. They're not going to get rid of this storm because they've got some axe to grind with Texas, obviously, because all they'd have to do is turn up the power on this and blow it apart. Just do exactly what they've done right here. Okay. Let's look at the the infrared loop. We can see the difference between these two upper level low pressures. One here, one over here. We can't even see it on this map. It's basically non-existent. And of course, the weather people on television weather will never point these things out. These comparisons, they don't educate the people on what's really going on. They'll give us some factoids about different patterns and classic weather theory and stuff like that. That's fine, but what we're talking about is what's actually going on right now, and they never really talk about that ever. All right, here's the East Pacific water vapor loop. We can see the this disturbance right here. This is being blown apart. In fact, all these little storms through here have been targeted all day long. And we can see the blast pattern right there at the very end. There's a lot of water vapor and a high velocity water vapor, superheated water vapor shooting out right there on the northwest side. Also out of this side here we see. So that's a pretty good shot of how it works. And we see the color change, of course. Let's look at the infrared loop. It's a pretty good shot of a blast. The whole side is blowing out. Okay. And then here is the visible light mode. We can't see a whole lot on that particular sequence, but there is some photoshopping right there on when the day transitions to night. Right there on that first frame, first couple of frames, we can see the photoshopping right there, and on the next frame. So they're hiding their work, obviously. Evidence of cover-up is evidence of guilt. Why would they be doing something like that? It's because they're trying to hide the dimple marks that those microwave transmitters make on the on those thunderheads. All right, here's the SSEC geostationary water vapor map, and we can really see the chemtrails. The planes are concentrated right out here in this moisture field. We can see the chemtrails all through here and all through here and all through here as well. Spraying all through that area. And we can see them right here as well. They're crisscrossing. There's diagonal crisscross patterns. You can see that. Right down in here, it's very heavy. So the planes are concentrated right out in this moisture field. They are working to spray desiccants and keep this upper level low a dry low, and that's exactly what's happening. And as this moisture winds around, it heads towards California, and then we have the jets. We're spraying very, very heavily up in the Lake Tahoe area through to San Francisco, all through this central area. They were spraying very heavily yesterday, just like down here in Los Angeles. Okay, let's go and take a look at the surface analysis map. We can see the high pressure all through the East Pacific right here. We have a gale right here, 992 millibar with a cold front, and then we have a warm front here. That's the transmitter. Okay. All right, let's look at the some of these other pressure maps. Here's the sea level pressure. We can see that high right here. We've got low pressure right here over the Four Corner States. Got an upper level low here. Or rather, a surface. Pardon me. That's a surface low. And then we have the 500 millibar. We have upper level low here and over here. This is just about a closed low, but that's good enough for me. So then we have high pressure in between. Look at this. Low, high, and low. All right. Okay, 300 millibar. We see that low right offshore here. It's just a dry low. They've got a transmitter on that. Here's the one over Texas. Okay. Here's the National Hurricane Center map. We can see that today's map shows that the chances have diminished to 60% hurricane formation in 48 hours. We'll keep an eye on this. But they've been hitting these systematically, these thunderstorms, and so they've blown those storms apart, and consequently they've lowered the chance from 70% to 60%. There's still an area of low pressure out there that apparently is conducive to further development, according to what they're saying here. All right, let's look at the East Coast real quick. We have the water vapor loop here. We can see the size of that storm right over Texas. This is flooding Texas and raising all kinds of hell down there. And like I say, they could turn the power up on this area very easily, just like they can cut a path through here and separate this moisture field from affecting this system here, merging with that. They can do all sorts of things. This is being allowed to form and to spin and drop rain. That's just a fact. They're allowing that to happen. They could easily squash that out. Here's that Bonnie right here. Bonnie is still spinning offshore. You see that? Let's take a look at the rainbow loop. We can see all the moisture there. It almost looks like a hurricane. Okay, and we have the IntelliCast map. We can see all that rain over Texas. Very heavy over Abilene, it looks like. Zoom in. Some very heavy rain near Austin, Victoria, and north of Dallas. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on all this stuff, and we will certainly do another update tomorrow. But here's that evidence. Look at that. That's a dry upper level low, and this is an upper level low that's being allowed to do its thing and flood Texas. Okay, so there it is. We've got a dry low and a wet low. Why can't they stop this? This is the more important. Instead of squashing this guy out, they should be squashing this out and allowing the rain to go into Southern California. That sounds more like it. Okay, very good. Okay, we'll do another update tomorrow.